Hello everybody, I'm Raphael Perry and it's time for some more Fighting Fantasy Classics. I know I've left it a bit of a while, there was a very heavy Darkest Dungeon focus earlier this week, but it's time to get back to some of the other series that are ongoing. Now, the issues I reported with Forest of Doom have apparently been fixed, so I may revisit and replay that one at some point. However, what I will do is display the missing illustrations. So here we have the magnificent stingworm. And Quinn, the bodybuilder. No, okay. Here we have our raven or crow. The fishman with his trident. The ape man and his treehouse. The two little dwarfs at almost the gates of Stonebridge. On the other side of the bridge, there's no real actual gates there. With, of course, our Shadow of the Hero. We have the ogre, the giant, whose illustration may be missing, but here we are. It's great to see a giant shown from a... Now, you know, at the time when this book was published, most giants were depicted kind of full on, as if the viewer was the same size as the giants, with the other people being smaller. So it was nice to see a kind of worm's eye view of the giants from beneath, as it were, as he comes barging through the forest there. And we have, was it Trundle, the evil dwarf, and the hobgoblins. Got our vicious looking nasty bandits here, our hunter and his hounds, and of course the magnificently useful map of Darkwood Forest, oh so detailed on the forest interior, but oh so useful for a player to actually, you know, let their imagination run wild, or even sketch out the map of the adventure as they went. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's pick another book to play. I kind of want to do Caverns of the Snow Witch, or Island of the Lizard King, or Death Trap Dungeon. Now, Death Trap Dungeon and Warlock of Firetop Mountain are two very big famous ones that lots of people are going to... Yeah, they're very popular, so I might as well try and get one of the others out first. I'm going to go Island of the Lizard King, because I haven't played it for absolutely donkers years. Donkers years? Good grief, it is that hour of the morning, isn't it? Yeah, it's like 4 in the morning. So absolute donkey's years. Right. Now, Island of the Lizard King, here we have the Lizard King, all magnificently blue with the gonchong on his head, his saber-like blade, or more like a falchion really, in his hand, and the Black Panther. Yeah, I think we'll play this one. Island of the Lizard King is a fighting fantasy game book, an interactive adventure in which you are the hero. You can only win by choosing the correct path, finding equipment, avoiding traps, and surviving combat. You will need to be as wise as an owl and as cunning as a weasel to triumph over the adventures ahead of you. Before embarking on your adventure, you must determine your own strengths and weaknesses with a series of dice rolls. You have been prepared for your quest by training yourself in swordplay to improve your skill and exercising vigorously to build up your stamina. Before making your rolls, you must choose from one of 3 difficulty settings. This gamebook has been designed for optimal challenge on the adventurer difficulty mode. For newcomers to Fighting Fantasy, we recommend Adventurer or Free Read modes. For experienced readers already familiar with printed versions of this gamebook, we recommend Hardcore Hero mode. Alright. Have they changed the end in Hardcore Hero mode? They have not. Okay, so let's see. It was generally the later books in the series where enemies had ridiculously high skill scores, ramped up to the point where many encounters were pretty much game over. So I think we can afford to go hardcore on this one. Let's see, Adventurer would be the standard. Hardcore Hero, 2 less skill. Sorry, I'm skimming over this a little because I covered it in the earlier episodes when playing Forest of Doom. However, some of you may not have watched that, so let's see. Adventurer. Play Island of the Lizard King exactly how Ian Livingstone designed it. Very little has been changed from a printed version. Your starting skill is calculated by rolling 1d6 plus 6. You will also be given unlimited bookmarks which act like placing your fingers between the pages. Hardcore Hero. If you have beaten Island of the Lizard King in Adventurer mode or have read the printed form of this gamebook before, this difficulty mode allows you to test your courage on Fire Island with the Ultimate Challenge. Your starting skill is calculated by 1d6 plus 4. You still receive unlimited bookmarks. I think I'm going to go Hardcore Hero, to be honest. Just for the extra bit of challenge. Free read. Play Island of the Lizard King like an old school cheater. In free read mode, you roll your character exactly the same way you would in Adventurer mode, but you're given 3 extra options to help easily negotiate your way through the book. Rewind, free choice, and heal. These are accessed through the Adventurer sheet. You may use all 3 of these buttons at any time during the adventure, except during combat, when you may only use the heal button. The rewind button. You can move backwards to the previous page. Should you take the wrong direction, you can now back up and choose another path. Free choice button. You can unlock all links on any page irrespective of whether they are available, so you can easily negotiate tricky parts of the story even if you do not possess the required conditions or items. Be warned, negotiating the story in this way can sometimes result in odd story outcomes. And the heal button, you are able to fully heal yourself at any time, so you will never run out of stamina. I'm going to go Hardcore Hero. And I remember this axe. Lovely little bit of filler art there. So a lot of things with the filler art they were used for the page layouts between the sections of the adventure. They were really helpful, and I'm going to absolutely, yeah. Let's tough it out. You have chosen the Hardcore Hero difficulty mode because the end has not been changed this time to make it more difficult as it was in Forest of Doom. I still will try that out though at some point. Before continuing, you must calculate your initial stamina. Your stamina score reflects your... Oh, I bet I know how they changed the end of Forest of Doom. I bet they changed the option to loop back round to the beginning again and keep doing it till you succeeded, and just made it so you had to do it all in one run. Ooh, that would be a big challenge, wouldn't it? So let's see. Before continuing, you must calculate your initial stamina. Your stamina score reflects your general constitution, your will to survive, your determination, and overall fitness. The higher your stamina score, the longer you will be able to survive. You must roll 2 dice and add 12 to the number rolled. This is then entered in the stamina box on your adventure sheet. Stamina will go up and down during your journey, but if your stamina falls to 0, you die and your adventure is over. 19. Your roll of 7 plus a base of 12 means your stamina is 19. God, I could roll up fighting fantasy characters in my sleep. Next, determine your skill. Your skill reflects your swordsmanship and general fighting expertise. The higher, the better. I don't actually remember this filler illustration. That's amazing. I love it. It's great. We got statues here by the side of the steps and probably some kind of lizardman figure. Looks like he's got the gonchong there holding some kind of nasty weapon. Or is it a torch to light the steps? Your starting skill is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 4 to the number. Usually it would be adding 6, but we're having it a bit tougher to be like manly men or something. This is then entered in the skill box on your adventurer sheet. Your adventurer sheet can be accessed at any time using the menu at the bottom of the screen. We shall absolutely roll... Ooh! A 7. I thought it would be 9. I'm too used to adding 6. Haha! There's that fighting fantasy brain. Your luck score indicates how naturally lucky a person you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy kingdom you're about to explore. Your starting luck is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6 to a number. Note the correct grammar use. Die is singular, dice are plural. Learn that, Games Workshop. Stop writing roll a dice. You do not roll a dice, you roll a die. Where do you think the saying, the die is cast, comes from? It's not to do with chucking liquid colouring agent at something, you know. This is then entered on the luck box on your adventure sheet. Oh, 10. Nice. Your roll of 4 plus 6 means your luck is 10. Names. Oh, we get to choose a potion. Wonderful. Right. In addition to your other starting equipment, you may take one bottle of a magical potion with which to aid you on your quest. Each potion contains enough for one measure, so use it wisely. I remember these crows and this skull. He's got some kind of eyeball there, he's pulling it away. Ugh. Grass here and little pebbles, oh yeah. The potions of skill and strength will fully restore your skill or stamina points respectively. The potion of fortune will add 1 to your initial luck before fully restoring your luck points. Which potion will you take on your quest? Right, we have average stamina, high luck and low skill. If we lose any skill and take skill penalties, fights will be very challenging, so I'm going to take the potion of skill this time. Absolutely, yes, we will take that. Next, you must prepare your adventurer's equipment. You begin your adventure with a sword, leather armor and a backpack with space for provisions, food and drink and any treasures you may come across on your journey. Yeah, sword, leather armor, backpack, that's standard for fighting fantasy, as is the usual 10 provisions. However, rationing your provisions is key to a successful adventure. They may be consumed at any time excluding combat by accessing the adventure sheet. Each meal restores 4 stamina. Be sure to pay close attention to your stamina and restore it regularly. Your difficulty setting determines how many provisions you begin with. Adventurers and free readers start with 10, while hardcore heroes begin with 3. And skill 7. Oh, that's so hardcore. We're gonna die miserably. I remember like 3 or 4 particular encounters from this adventure, and that's about it. During your quest, you may encounter characters and items that alter your free scores, skill, stamina, and luck. Look, it was always skill, stamina, and luck. Stamina was never placed first until very recently. It feels very wrong. Unusually, these scores may only ever be restored to their initial amount. On very rare occasions, a particular page may grant an effect that defies this rule. Aside from these occasions, some magic items may also allow you to exceed your initial scores. Once you have readied your equipment, you may begin. May the luck of the gods go with you on your adventure ahead. Oh, poor Mungo, we barely knew you. Was that a little preemptive? I think that was a little preemptive. Don't worry, Mungo's great. He's fine. Nothing's going to happen to good old Mungo. He's a pal. Oyster Bay is a quiet fishing village some 60 miles down the coast from the notorious Port Blacksand. Oh, we'll be visiting that when we get to City of Thieves. Because it is at the end of a long peninsula, reached only by a steep and winding path, the fisherfolk are left to lead a simple but content life, away from the monsters and sorcery of the hinterland. Journeying south from Fang is where Deathtrap Dungeon is. You decide that you could do with a few days' rest, and, knowing of no more peaceful place than Oyster Bay, you urge your horse towards the coast. Hey, we got a horse as well, that's great. I'd forgotten all about the horse. Besides, an old adventuring friend of yours called Mungo lives there now, and it has been years since you last saw him. 2 days later, you arrive at the edge of the cliffs overlooking Oyster Bay. It is a beautiful, sunny morning, and everything looks tranquil below. Nothing seems to have changed. The clusters of stone cottages nestles between the foot of the cliffs and the jetty where a dozen fishing boats lie at anchor. You jump off your horse and walk it down the winding path to the village. The first people you see are a group of crying villagers. As you approach them, several of them step out of a cottage and run towards you. One of the 4 is your old friend Mungo. Oh, hey, Mungo, nice to see you again, old pal. His weather-beaten face is full of anger. He looks surprised to see you, but wastes no time with words of welcome. He recounts the sad events that have befallen the village. Having no gold or material wealth, the people of Oyster Bay thought themselves safe from raiders attacking their village. But several weeks ago, while most of the men were out at sea, the lizardmen of Fire Island landed their boats in Oyster Bay and kidnapped several young villagers. Mungo believes that they are now enslaved on Fire Island and working in chain gangs in the gold mines. Since the kidnapping, 2 people were left to guard the village while the rest went out to fish. Despite this, the lizardmen attacked again this very morning, overpowering the guards and taking away more villagers. More? They wanted more? Mungo tells you that he is about to set sail for Fire Island alone, because the other fishermen are too scared to set foot on the island. He stares at you in silence until you smile and say that you will aid him in his quest. I will absolutely aid him in his quest. He slaps you on the back and shakes your hand in gratitude. For the moment, the poor fishing folk forget their grief and crowd around you, eager to thank you. Mungo then invites you to dine with him and rest a while. Stay a while, as the voyage to Fire Island will take several hours. Over a delicious feast of boiled lobster and salad, you discuss your plans. Oh, I'm not too keen on the lobster. Salad might be nice, depends what they put in it. Mungo tells you that he does not think the humans live on Fire Island any longer, but his knowledge is fairly limited. These are just rumours that pass between fishermen from other coastal villages. However, it is known that Fire Island used to be a prison colony, guarded by a tribe of paid lizardmen. This was a rather futile attempt by Prince Olaf to rid his land of undesirable characters. The good prince soon learned that it would have been simpler to put his lawful citizens to Fire Island and leave the evildoers on the mainland. There were just too many of them. He gave up his attempt and abandoned the prison colony. When the lizardmen received no pay, they took their vengeance out on the prisoners, and the island became a place of terror, ruled by a lizardman, prison guard, who proclaimed himself king. The prisoners were forced to dig mines in the hope of finding gold for the Lizard King. They were underfed and ill-treated, and many died. That is presumably why the Lizard King is sending out his men to find new slaves. It is known that in order to assert his authority, the Lizard King began practicing dark magic. He also started genetic experiments in an attempt to breed an invincible race of lizardmen. Most of the experiments went wrong. Grotesque mutants were created, and some of the harmful potions found their way into the water drains with terrible consequences. The local flora and fauna were affected, with the result that man-eating plants developed and giant beasts evolved. A few of the prisoners managed to escape the island on rafts and were picked up by fishermen, but what has happened in the last few years, nobody knows. And obviously some prisoners escaped, otherwise how would anyone know what had happened on Fire Island? Fire Island had almost been forgotten until the recent raids. Success in your quest to assassinate the Lizard King and rescue the kidnapped victims is doubtful, but you must try. It's very doubtful of our skill of 7 as well. You stand up and walk down to the jetty with Mungo stepping aboard his small fishing boat. In the sight of cheering villagers, you untie the boat and push out to sea, wondering if you will ever return. Now, turn over. Our adventure begins. Oh, I was going to change our portrait. I was going to do a different character for each book. Although this does look reasonably good for Fire Island as a friend of Mungo's. Let's keep that portrait for now. Hey! There's Mungo! Yeah, he's a great old friend. Look at him, he's so brave, standing there on the edge of his boat. He's amazing. With that headscarf, looks almost a little bit like a woolly hat as well. And just hanging onto the rope. That's a brave fella. And there we have Fire Island with a bloody great big volcano in the middle, to be honest. Didn't know there was going to be a volcano. Actually, I did. I've played this before. Mungo's years with the fishermen of Oyster Bay have made him a skillful boatman. He swiftly hoists the sail of a small boat and sets his course due west across the silvery blue sea. The land soon recedes into the distance, and you sit back on the deck, relaxing in the afternoon sunshine. From the stern you hear merry whistling, the creak of the rudder, and Mungo occasionally calling out to a seabird passing overhead. You think about the good times you used to have with Mungo, his constant cheerful nature and willingness to help people in need. You find it difficult to believe that so much evil exists in the land, where there live the likes of Mungo. You know what I'm going to do? Where are we? I see. Is there one for... No, there isn't. Okay. We'll go with that one. Yeah. As we approach Fire Island. As the hours drift by, you talk and laugh, trying to ignore the dangers ahead. Mungo is always one to tell a tale, and he is now telling you about his father and how he used to work in a travelling circus. Circus. He was a big man, big as a mountain, laughs Mungo, and he would do just about anything for a paying crowd. Wrestle trolls, have elephants stand on him, and even let a killer bee sting him. He was a tough old customer, but he finally met his match in the north. The circus was in Fang when one of the attractions during the festivities surrounding the Trial of Champions, and my father decided on a whim to enter. He walked into Deathtrap Dungeon and, alas, was never seen again. He was really too old for such an ordeal, although there was no telling him that, but at least he tried. Hey, when I go and check Deathtrap Dungeon, I should check which one of them was... If one of the contestants would be Mungo's father. Don't tell me it would be From the Barbarian. Oh, From was epic. Probably wasn't From. Probably... I mean, I don't think it would be the ninja either, so maybe maybe the other barbarian. I don't know. Just as Mungo is about to tell you his next tale, he jumps up and shouts, "Land ahoy!" at the top of his voice, as though he were yelling the news to the crew of a galleon. You look to where he is pointing and see Fire Island in the distance. The island sits on the sea like a green cushion with a jagged mountain protruding from it. Smoke gently curls from its top, a volcano's fuming anger waiting to explode. Mungo steers the boat towards a small inlet at the eastern tip of the island, hoping that it will remain concealed between the high rocks. You both put on your backpacks and clamber out of the boat and to begin your quest to find the Lizard King. Let's see, we can go left and scramble around the rocks on the beach cove, or right and explore the inlet. I can't remember, but using the Fighting Fantasy rule, we shall go left. It does not take long for you to reach the beach, which is small and covered with golden sand. A few rocks jut into the sea, and at the far end of the beach you see a tiny hut made of white stone. The roof is collapsed and the hut looks deserted. There are some long tracks in the sand crisscrossing the beach. Let us investigate this hut. You're about halfway across the beach when suddenly a large mound of sand by the sea's edge starts to rise into the air. Then you see 6 large spiny legs and a pair of pincers, and as the sand slides off its huge shell, your eyes widen at the daunting sight of the giant crab before you. It scuttles across the sand, picking up Mungo with one of its pincers. Mungo cries out in pain, unable to free himself from the vice-like grip of this giant crab. The giant crab, one of the most memorable things from this book. We could help Mungo. Look, he is such a great friend. He told me stories. I've known him for years. I am absolutely going to help Mungo. What kind of a cur would I be if I did not immediately leap to his aid? With my skill of 7. You run at the giant crab with your sword drawn. It drops Mungo into the sand in order to attack you with both pincers. Uh-oh. And now we have excessively loud battle music. Let us fight! Oh, that crab is a wily fighter. Ah! Fight again! Bloomin' heck, this could be a bit of a short one. Oh. Take that, you crab! You know, I'm gonna luck that one. Extra damage, mother crabber! Now I just about stand a chance. And my luck has diminished as it should. Is the music too loud? Please let me know if the music is too loud for this track. Ah! Oh, just got him. But I tell you, this music is intense. It's certainly building atmosphere. A draw! Ah! Ha 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 ha! And luck! Uh-oh. Oh. Ah, the crab is defeated. Please let me know. That battle music was loud. That was really loud. I don't know how loud it's going to be on the recording, but hopefully it won't completely drown out everything. But wow, the battle of the giant crab was intense indeed, but it is finally over. Kneeling down beside the crushed body of Mungo, you gently lift his head in your arms. His eyes open a little and he manages half a smile despite his agony. In a whisper he says, "Well, my old friend, it's the end of the road for me. A lot of use I've been. Make sure you get the Lizard King for me, won't you?" Then his eyes close and he slumps down dead. You bury him on the beach near the cliff, marking the grave with his sword skewered in the sand. More determined than ever, you set off on your quest and walk to the stone hut. Sadly, I remember the first time I played this being so gutted when Mungo died. I mean, not Mungo, he'd been such a good friend. And it really did give me that determination to go on and push on to the end of the adventure. However, looking at the clock, I might need to wrap this episode here. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be recording the next one soon. But until then, I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now, and cheerio!